It is 1:02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In Titans news, the team has reportedly signed wide receiver and return specialist James Proche. According to a post on his Instagram, the 2020 sixth-round pick of the Ravens out of SMU has played the last 2 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. In NFL news, the Giants are signing veteran quarterback Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal with the potential to make $21 million in incentives, with $10.5 of that guaranteed. The Patriots are signing former All-Pro wide receiver Stephon Diggs to a 3-year, $69 million deal with 26 of that guaranteed. The 31-year-old wide receiver played for the Houston Texans last season, playing in 8 games before suffering an ACL tear against the Colts that sidelined him the remainder of the season. For all your foundation repair waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. 1045 is the number. I think I said that right the first time.
The Zone.
The Zone. So we want to hear from you, because what we've done is talk about the quarterbacks and Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I want to know from the listeners, outside of those 4, like, let's say the Tennessee Titans draft Cam Ward.
You didn't tell me you were going to quantify that. I mean, you took one of my guys.
The Tennessee Titans draft Cam Ward.
Oh, my.
Who is a must-have in this draft that you want the Titans to have? Like, no matter what. Because I don't know if you know this or not. And this, if you watch the Avengers and all that kind of stuff, they say no matter what. And and they're announcing the new Avengers movie cast today as it goes on, which they're doing in a ridiculous, 5 hours of announcing the cast, which is totally stupid, by the way. But what prospect do you want the Titans like? You would be so happy if it was Cam Ward and this person, A-plus draft. Wow. So that's what we want to hear from you. 615-737-1045 is the number. I don't know why I'm having problems saying that. So last night, the New York Giants signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year contract. 10.5 of it is $10.5 million guaranteed for 2025. Now, it's been rumored, has not been confirmed, that Winston's 2-year, $8 million contract, $4 million is for fully guaranteed. So when you kind of look at that, you're talking about $14.5 million fully guaranteed, supposedly, allegedly, for 2 quarterbacks. And everybody is acting like, well, this takes them out of the running for trading up. I think it takes them out of the running somewhat, but I would never say never to a team wanting to trade up to the number 1 spot for Cam Ward, even with their current quarterback situation where they're paying that much money to 2 quarterbacks, because their job's still on the line. Jameis Winston can still be cut. So I look at it and I go, this doesn't preclude them from trading up, but does take away and eat away at maybe the Titans' leverage of getting more picks out of them. And that's kind of what the move signals to me. It's like, hey, we signed these 2 quarterbacks. We're going to cool it on the trade talks for now, and we're just going to roll with these 2 quarterbacks, which then puts the ball back into the Titans' courts in this particular negotiation. Does not change the Titans' leverage over the Jets. Does not change the leverage over the Saints and other maybe quarterback-needy teams. But it does change their leverage with the New York Giants.
I'm not sure. I'm right there with you, but I'm not sure it even changes anything for the Titans or the Giants. And I say that because here's how I think. I reverse that. If the Titans had signed Russell Wilson, would that preclude them from taking Cam Ward?
No.
See? So that's why I say, I don't think it really says too much anything. It could, but in theory, they could still draft him and still trade up. And I think you're right on point there about, maybe this is like losing a little bit of leverage. Like, all right, maybe we're kind of tired of hearing the Titans and our conversations behind the scenes that, oh, man, you want us to give it this? Well, we already got something. Dang, you can also use Winston for leverage maybe in the trade since he's only making $4 million. I think $4 million per year is a 2-year deal, so $8 million in total. $4 million guaranteed. So I kind of look at it more so that way. The draft over the years, man, it is, and even experiencing it is so unpredictable. Now, I know in the first round you want to think that the top 5 are, but really once it gets going, it's somewhat unpredictable, and it's really heart-wrenching because people don't understand how hard it is to actually even get drafted, let alone in this upper tier, and what the needs are of teams and who they will take and what they think about players. All teams are so different how they go about that mechanism. So I don't think it really matters at this point. If you like somebody, I think especially at the top end of the first round, I think you just got to go for the guy you're passionate about it, you enthuse about it, and that you love. So, and oh, by the way, on your pick, of who you want the Titans to have on their team, this is going to shock you.
Oh, yeah?
A tight end from Penn State.
You'd go to Tyler Warren?
And I've watched him numerous times, and I just think he's a game changer. I think and there's some other really good tight ends coming. I saw Arroyo. I mean, there's some other really good ones. I don't know how high they're rated, but I saw him at quarterback. I saw him at slot. I saw him give him a speed sweep. I saw him, run great routes, get deep threat, one-hand catches. I was like, you know what? Titans have nobody like that. I'll take him. I'll take him because they need it. They need, an elite level
let's be
tight
honest,
end,
if
not
they
just
were,
some, good solid players.
Hey, listen, if they were traded back with the Saints, for example, at pick number 9, and if they were choosing between Tyler Warren and Jalen Walker, we talked about Jalen Walker yesterday, the Georgia linebacker, I'd be saying you got to take Tyler Warren. If he's still there, you got to take him all day, every day.
I know you need Walker.
But yeah, I know you need that, but I would definitely be going Tyler Warren. My guy would be Luther Burden. I know. Listen, there's a lot of stuff that has come out about Luther Burden.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't like to hear say that one there. Has he been arrested?
No. See, that's the thing.
Let's not talk about it.
My thing is like, okay, so supposedly, allegedly, his girlfriend is very micromanaging, and his mother is overbearing. Okay, well, my mom's not overbearing, but like, there's a lot of overbearing helicopter moms in these younger generations.
How much you think the parents are around the facility at the Titans? I'm going to just ask you that question.
Probably not that much.
No, none.
Yeah.
None. Like, now, when you come watch practice, which is only during training camp, is that they have no say-so over anything.
Like, to me, that stuff doesn't matter. Now, there's apparently
I'm sure if he's
issues.
An agent, if it's an agent.
He's apparently Monday through Friday, he's not a big, practice guy or something, and he kind of half says. But to me, it's all about what happens on the game day.
Well, let me say, McNair never practiced all week.
Yeah. So, how many times have we seen that?
He practiced. Well, boy, what he get in that game? We was like, yeah, let's go.
Here's my thing. If you're the other 32 teams or 31 teams that draft after the Titans, and there's 2 teams that redraft after the Titans, right? Because they pick at 35. And you guys all pass on Luther Burden. I think you guys are all dumb. And I mean, like, this, we're talking about a guy with top 15 player tape.
We could be all dumb, though.
Yeah, maybe. But this is a guy with top 15 player tape overall. And he's arguably, I think, the best wideout that you could see here. Listen, that 2024 tape is still good when you look at him. Yeah. It's the offense and the quarterback that's the issue.
They didn't play as well. No question.
Yeah.
No question.
But his individual tape looks just the same as his other tape, just he's used all... I don't know what they did with that offensive scheme. That one 2 years ago in 2023, they were throwing it deep. They were giving it to him in all different ways. I don't think so. It just all of a sudden changed. So I'm looking at this and I go, if you don't draft Luther Burden because you're afraid of the women in his life, get real. This guy has great tape, and he has not. And he's in multiple charities, multiple communities. They did a spot on him in October 2024 on ESPN Game Day. Demetrius Johnson Foundation for Underprivileged Kids. This guy's in the community. Maybe it's all just, for the cameras or whatever. But at this point, I'm like, the tape. Look at the tape. You cannot pass on Luther Burden at 35. So, to me, you walk away with Cam Ward and Luther Burden. that changes how you should look at this Tennessee Titans team.
All right, who's yours, Jackson?
I really like Landon Jackson, and I have for a while. I've talked to both of you about him.
Yep.
I really like the edge out of Arkansas. If he is there in the second round, draft him.
Ooh.
I like it.
And if Danny Stutzman makes it to the fourth, run with the card in.
Who was that?
Linebacker out of Oklahoma.
The linebacker?
Yes, middle linebacker.
So teams that you watched University of Tennessee play for 100 is what you're saying.
They destroyed the Vols.
Players that popped out on the screen for me when I was watching Tennessee play. Because obviously I'm paying more attention to Tennessee's players and what they're doing.
Of course.
But if an opponent player stuck out to me, I would like to think their game probably translates to the NFL.
Good call.
615-737-1045. Who would you be like running to the podium for? Who would you be giving an A+ for? Even if it's a 5th or 6th round prospect, right? Let's hear some from you guys when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation. And we're going to go straight to the phones because we're asking, who would you run up to the podium for? You got Cam Ward in the first round. Who are you drafting? Like, who are you running up to the podium for the Tennessee Titans, and you would give them an A+ in the draft? We'll also get to what some of the people in the chat have said and thrown in their answers. But first, let's go to the phones. Jeff, who wants to talk about the draft. Jeff, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Fellas, what's happening?
What's up, Jeff?
All right, so I think I would love to see Burton there, Luther Burton, but I don't think he's going to be there. I'd also love to see Gray Zabel there. I don't think he's going to be there either. So I'm going with Mike Green. I think you go to that. If you got Cam Ward 1, I think we go to our edge at 2. And I like Landon Jackson too, like he was saying, but I think it's Mike Green. I think he's got a chance to be the freak.
Yeah, I think so. So Mike Green, for those that may not know, is the edge out of Marshall. I agree with you. He'll be gone for sure. I think that with his 3-cone time was one of the best 3-cone times. I think it was a 6.85, which is really good for an edge rusher. Mm-hmm. When you see that, you match up the production. I think every team's got to clear because he does have, I guess I would say, an aggressive past, I guess you would say. But it seems to me that the investigation has led to teams finding out his murky past that kind of caused him to transfer from schools is not as bad as what it may have initially seemed. But I look at it and I go, if Mike Green... so Mike Green's kind of like my Luther Burden toss-up guy. If for whatever reason he is there at 35, I think you could do no wrong. But, man, it would be really hard to pass up Mike Green if he's there at 35 because, we talked about the other day a couple of edge rushers that kind of remind you of that Harold Landry tier pass rusher that you can get in the second round. I think he's a tier above, maybe even 2 tiers above. That's how highly I think of Mike Green, but that's also why I don't think he's going to be there. I think Gray Zabel's an interesting name. Now, he's from North Dakota State, had a fantastic, probably one of the best Senior Bowl weeks I've ever seen. Has really good take, but you're drafting a guard at 35. So you're passing up on wide receivers. You're passing up on edges. You're passing the heir apparent you're drafting the heir apparent to Kevin Zeitler, but that's a hard pill to swallow when you got not only really good players available at positions of need, and that'd be a real hard pill, I think, for this franchise to swallow, even if that guy turns into be what everybody thinks, and that's a stud guard for a long time.
Yeah, he looked really good at Senior Bowl. I was thoroughly impressed. Actually, he was my number 1 guard after all of that. He was consistent throughout. I think I saw him miss or get beat one time. Throughout that whole week, So yeah, but you can't go there. You just you can't. I'm not after signing a big dollar guy. That's a tough one. Like, make them sit and then in another year play. And then when you have all of these other holes, as you mentioned. So as much as I love a guy. But here's what I will say. You draft a guy like that when you are already a playoff contending guy because you're playing for the future. So the Titans are not in that situation. They actually have to fill holes. And so, dang. And that's when you lose out on a really good player. I really like what I saw out of him.
Okay, so let's go to the F&M Bank chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, wherever you get your Zone TV. We got Joe Blacko says Kyle Williams, no matter what. He's a guy that's been on our radar a little bit lately. Interesting note about Kyle Williams I want to throw out there. A lot of people forget.
Wide receiver from Washington State.
Yeah, wide receiver from Washington State. So not only does he have history with Cam Ward from the 2023 season, he has history with Nick Holtz when he used to play from UNLV when Nick Holtz was the offensive coordinator for the University Nevada of Las Vegas.
Did not know
so
that.
That is an interesting little parallel there. He doesn't only have a connection to Cam Ward, he also has a connection to someone currently on the coaching staff going around to all these pro days as well.
But you assume that that's a good thing. You never know.
Could be a bad thing.
Right, exactly. You just never know. He knows him personally. He saw him on a daily basis.
But
so
I
on
will
the field, his production is just incredible. He's an explosive player.
A
His
lot
first
of people
2 or 3
love him.
Yeah.
Chris Sims put him as his number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, and I know we make fun of Chris Sims a lot in the community. The draft community doesn't respect Chris Sims.
I don't.
But let me say this. His wide receiver rankings have been pretty spot on every year that he's done them, and I think you should take notice about Kyle Williams. And I think a lot of people are starting to get to the Kyle Williams tape because he's been like a 5th round guy, and now that everybody's getting to the tape, he's flying up the draft boards. Everybody's like, whoa, this dude's really good. Because sometimes you kind of look around and see where people are listed on big boards and do your tape priority based on that if you're one person.
Yeah, I love Chris Sims, and I think Chris Sims does a great job. But have him at number 2 is a little stretch for me.
Yeah,
personally, I think he's probably a 3rd round type player that can, once he gets into the league. You know who he reminds me of? Derek Mason when he was in college. When you scout Derek Mason, I've seen him return, but his explosiveness after his catch is, oh man, it is impressive. Like, it's up there with the elite, but I just don't know. When I watched him, I never saw him versus elite talent. Maybe that's because I just only went so far as watching film. I saw him against Boise State, good teams, but not just like, okay, I want to see him against an SEC guy.
Yeah.
I really do, to see if they're really bad. And what is he in the pros? They played him outside and inside. I think he projects as a slot, which is what the Titans need.
Yeah.
So if they do
need
homework,
both.
so if they get in the 3rd, 4th round and they get to receiver, I would be stunned if they didn't take him.
Well, we'll talk a little bit about it later. There's also the opportunity if they get pick up a 3rd rounder.
Right. No,
maybe they can pick him up there. We got a lot of people in the chat, including Duck Falling and others, have said Jack Besh, the wide receiver out of TCU. I know that Coach Mack will love that one. Yeah. JD3 says Braden Swinson, no matter what, who's another late riser throughout the draft community process, I guess I should say. He's the edge out of LSU, has some really good tape that he's put out there. Right, yeah. I would say that he would be one of those guys that kind of probably his floor is a Harold Landry, but his ceiling is a little bit higher than that. So that's a guy that you could look at right there. Let's see. We got a couple of running backs that popped up. Bishal Tootin, who's someone who is someone that Coach Mack talked about last week. Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State's another guy who had a really good Senior Bowl. That it comes from Kent in the F&M Bank chat. Mm-hmm. So, there's all kinds of people here. I mean, I look at it and I go, this feels like this draft could be one of those drafts where we look back on that's like the foundation draft. Maybe these guys aren't elite players, but they provided your team a lot of good young players that you can maybe sign to second contracts. Because as we have heard from Coach Mack and various other people, the belly of the draft, there's a lot of day 3 wide receivers that I think that could really make an impact on this team. Again, we're maybe talking about grabbing a receiver that gets you 500 yards and 4 touchdowns.
What's the receiver, the Colorado guy? Isn't it 2 of them?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's a couple from Colorado. So there's LaJohntay Wester, Jimmy Horn, Will Shepard.
I like Shepard. Is big.
Yeah.
I remember when he was at Vanderbilt. That's an NFL talent. They had all.
Then there's also the Colorado State wide receiver, Torrey Horton, that has got a lot of buzz. So there's like Pat Bryant from Illinois.
Quality.
The list of these wide receivers.
Players that I think could be, good players. I mean, here's how I'm going to look at good players. At least an NWI level player immediately when they get in the league where he left off. I'm not saying score 9 touchdowns, but I'm saying that you'll be that level of a player.
A 400, 500-yard guy with maybe 4 touchdowns that's coming out of the slot, or that maybe he's over there in a rotational on the outside with Van Jefferson or someone like that. That's fine because you're looking for a guy that can start off, like you said, where NWI left off. Because it took a while for NWI to get to that point. Right. Now he got to that point. So you got to find a guy that can get to a spot, be relied on to be in that spot at the right time, be relied on to catch in that spot. And if you do need a red zone threat, I think the Tennessee Titans right now are really lacking a true jump ball specialist, I guess you would say.
Ooh, Shepard.
Shepard could be that guy. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Tennessee Titans to, with 2 4th-round picks and 2 5th-round picks, to really change the complexion of this offense. And I'm not talking of turning into a year one T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase trio. What I'm talking about is putting up a respectable 21 points per game, at least.
What do you think of the kid? He'll be gone naturally. Bond from Alabama. You would know better than anybody, right?
Yeah, there's injury issues. I have trouble looking. Here's the problem with this 2024 draft class. So I'm trying to put it in words. Here's the problem with this 2024 draft class. There are so many people who played through injury, and there are so many people that had better 2023 tape. And so Isaiah Bond, I think, had better 2023 tape than he did in 2024. And Texas's offense, when you watch it, it's almost kind of like your Tennessee offense in a sense that I don't think a lot of the stuff translates very well or lends itself very well to the prospect evaluation.
That's the same
these wide
offense.
receivers.
All the receivers Alabama that's in the NFL.
Yeah, but those Alabama receivers were putting up different kind of stats
numbers
and different kind of numbers. Now you could maybe blame Quinn Ewers, but at the same time, Matthew Golden's making this big leap. But we're talking about a guy that really hasn't had the production that necessitates the leap that you're making. Does not mean that he can't be good in the NFL. But
because a lot of people are saying he's going to be one of the top guys.
Yeah,
top five wide receivers coming out. Whoa, did he? Because he's fast, right?
Yeah, he ran faster at the Texas Pro Day. But, I don't know when you try to say how much of their problems on offense is because of Quinn Ewers is the first question you have. So then how much of it is the scheme? But you look at maybe Isaiah Bond and all this stuff, like Matthew Golden, 987 yards all the way through the playoffs. That's not bad.
I mean, he had some injury issues there at the end.
But that's something elite, like Isaiah Bond, 540 through 14 games. So, I mean, that's a big drop-off between him and Bond. I just couldn't coalesce the tape. I wouldn't be upset at 35, but that feels like more like a trade back wide receiver for me. Like if you land in the 40s or maybe he's even there at the third round, which he probably isn't, that's what that guy feels like, because he's also got a little bit of a lot of wide receivers this year have that I know the ball's not coming my way, so I'm not giving it the full effort kind of film. And so it's really hard to judge, is that just this year because they're protecting themselves because they know they're in the draft, or is that the makeup of the person? So,
Well, sometimes those offenses are set up where they're just saying one side read, and then they just run a guy off, and they're kind of just jogging and get a good burst off, and then they stop. So I don't know.
See, that's again, is it the scheme? Is it Quinn Ewers? Is it the receiver? It's hard to It's one of those things. Like Bond's one of those prospects. Here's what you're supposed
to do. Then you're supposed to look at the traits.
Yeah.
See, the traits tell you what they are, not based off of production and how that. So the traits tell you if he will have success in the National Football League. And I think Bond. Well, I don't know about the Golden Kid. He's solid, but boy, I saw some explosiveness that I hadn't seen very much at all from anybody from him.
Yeah.
Now, his durability could be a question. Now, that's what I would question.
That Golden Kid is kind of like, okay, he runs a 4.29, but you don't see a 4.29 on tape.
No.
So
Who was the guy that was toasting the Vanderbilt here at home a couple years ago? Do you remember that, Jackson, who that guy was? Oh, man, he was. Ooh, I'm thinking that was the Bond guy.
It may have been.
Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt.
that was 4 years ago.
Wrong UT, wrong color orange.
That was Texas.
Let's go to Bubba in Nashville, who wants to talk about the quarterbacks. Bubba, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Bubba Gump.
Yeah, how y'all doing? Blaine, you the best. Need more defensive players like you nowadays.
That's what they're looking for.
Yes, sir,
Tough.
and we need them. What I was going to say is, I've done everything in the world about the draft and stuff, but what I would really like to know, how come nobody's picking up on this McCord boy from Syracuse? I'm a SEC man all the way, but what little bit I've seen him play, man, he looks pretty damn tough, and they did beat Miami, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have talked about this show about Colin McCord a lot, and he's that tier 2. I kind of think I have him as a tier 2 kind of quarterback, but like a round 3 draft. But again, if the Tennessee Titans were to trade back and take best player available at 9, and you picked up a third round this year, and Colin McCord's sitting there at third, I'd be much more willing to roll with rookie Colin McCord than third-year Will Levis.
Yeah, I like him too. He throws on time. He kind of seems like he fits, what Callahan is looking for. I'm going to give him this, you always, and I know you don't like this, I like comparing to current players, not to say they'll get to that level, but he throws on point. He reminds me a little bit of just a poor man's, don't get me wrong, I love Burrow, but like that. And
Right.
Let's have a little wager here. Who goes higher? I know you like Tyler. I mean, no, I like Tyler Shuck.
You like Tyler Shuck.
I do, but I don't know if I like him more than McCord, but I put him on the same plane. So let's see who goes higher, Tyler Shuck or Kyle McCord.
Ooh, that's good. Because I'm willing to. I'm trying to like.
Because I'm not sure he'll go higher either. I have no idea.
Because I kind of feel like the NFL would go Tyler Shuck, but how do you pass up the younger, healthier, overtime version of Kyle McCord?
Yeah, and he had success at Ohio State before he transferred to Syracuse, and then went a ride there. I guess his junior year or so, or whatever year it was. And so I was pleasantly impressed with actually both of those guys. I watched Shuck a lot, especially when they played the U. So I was all over that game, and that's where he kind of solidified. I was like, hey, man, nobody's telling me this guy is legit. Then I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and I like what I saw. I like both those guys, but just to make it fun, let's just have a little wager.
Yeah.
I don't know which one to go higher.
I don't know either.
Higher,
We're going to have to think about this one. I think Shuck is rated higher.
Oh, is he?
I think so.
Oh, I would have thought McCord might have been.
These draft analysts, so they probably are wrong. Okay. I will throw a position out there of a player that I really, really love on tape. And I see that someone mentioned him in the chat, and I wish I would have thought about him earlier. And he is a guy, it's really, again, it's kind of like the Gray Zabel thing. You see it on tape, but it's not really a position of need. And that's the Notre Dame safety, Xavier Watts, who I love his tape. You watch him play and throughout the playoffs and everything. I mean, he has been awesome. But that's another guy that I would give the Titans an A+ if they drafted him. I know the 35 is a little high.
What are they projecting him?
Probably in the mid 40s. So it's not too high. But that's a guy that I feel like, man, could really come in and be a mainstay game changer for your defense.
Go watch him.
He's
I like
awesome.
the corner though, even though he got beat there at the end.
Oh yeah,
it was just technical. It's what they teach in college, but all they had to do is convert to outside. Once they hard stem you inside, you convert to outside, and then you give up the dig. You don't give up the go. See, that's what you do, and you make the tackle. He did not convert, so he's not being taught that. That I think is McKinstry or something like that. He was number 29 for Notre Dame. So. Yeah, I like him. I think he's ranked. He's probably a mid-round guy, but he's long, athletic, and can go. So I like him. The safeties didn't stand out in that game. In the Final Four games, that's what I'm talking about.
We were talking about Luther Burden. This is from Todd McShay. He says, there's a lot of diva, which I don't have, this is me now talking about. I don't have a lot of problem with having a diva wide receiver, by the way.
No, man.
And the biggest thing, what I talk to when I talk to NFL teams, he just flat out quit in that Alabama game. I'm sure I'll have people calling and SIDs and everything else, but go watch it yourself. So,
Oh, so you like quitters.
Well, I mean,
according to him, I know that's what you.
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch that game and refresh on that game before I could speak on it. But I don't care. This diva stuff, I just don't care about it with a wide receiver. Yeah. I want my wide receiver to have that I want the ball mentality because I'm the best player on the field. Especially if he backs it up. That'd be now if he doesn't back it up, if NWI or someone had that diva mentality. If Traylon Burks had that diva mentality, he could use some diva mentality, some dog mentality. But I'm okay with some diva mentality. Quitting on the game, not so much. But how much are we weighing one game versus the rest of the tape that we have on Luther Burden?
Yeah. Sometimes when someone says that, I go, that means that had to be relayed to him in a conversation. And I always have issues with that per se, because it could be someone that just they don't, like him. And even if it came from a coach, but yet he was a good player and you dealt with him. I think it's about coaches who can deal with personality types.
By the way, the Alabama game he's referencing, they lost 34-0.
Right. So he's probably saying, if you go watch the tape, I bet he'll be like, I was open. They never threw to me. So he's pissed off now. What I would ask him personally in a meeting is, what makes you think just because you weren't getting the ball? Because guess what? You're not going to get the ball in the National Football League. So you're going to pout and complain. And I want to ask him, what would be your response then? Then what is your response in league? No, what you do is I want to hear him explain to me what actually happened. And I want to see if he has a resolution of why he did what he did. And if I don't like the answer, then
you know.
Right, because then the diva stuff doesn't bother me. But going out there quitting on the field, nah, that is a numero uno. No, so I want to hear why, what happened. So you just going to quit because you didn't get the ball? Well, guess what? You're not going to get the ball if you with the type. Ridley's the number one guy. So you going to be happy with 2? And I don't want to see no pouting. And I'm like, I'm going to be the one coaching you. So, yeah. Guess what? If you start that pouting and don't run around, how about you stand right next to me, and guess what? You can pout all you want to.
Well, speaking of wide receivers, Tennessee Titans have brought in a few wide receivers for a workout, and it's allegedly has signed one. We'll talk about that one when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
We've got the trucks, all the trucks, all the trims, all the towing, all the bells and whistles, and all at Truck Month Savings. Two Rivers Ford is Ford Truck Central.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. And we got a little bit of, Titans news. I don't know if it's as worthy as for the music, the breaking news music, as where they took Cam Ward out for dinner. But according to Terry McCormick, the Titans are adding wide receiver James Proche, who's been in the league since 2020, out of SMU, wide receiver out of SMU. Has 28 receptions over 5 years with the Ravens and the Browns. He's primarily a punt returner right now, so they're getting a little special teams depth in there for the team. But they also worked out Terrence Marshall and Donovan Peoples-Jones today, but aren't likely to sign either of them. So I guess they brought in 3 wide receivers and signed 1 out of the 3, according to Terry McCormick at TerryMC13 on Twitter.
Is that the Terrence Marshall that went to Memphis?
No, the one that went to LSU.
LSU?
LSU.
Okay.
And it's actually funny. I wanted them to draft Marshall over Radens at the time. Radens actually ended up being better, so I got that one wrong. I'll have to put that out there. But it was the same draft, and Marshall at LSU went to the Carolina Panthers, been kind of meandering there for the last couple of years. Donovan Peoples-Jones, of course, out of Michigan, who was in Cleveland and Detroit, kind of bounced around. So, I think they were obviously looking for some kind of returning element from these 3 wide receivers. Nothing that would prevent them. It's just depth.
Yeah.
And
well, you said Proto. I mean, he is a returner too as well. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that could be, Jackson on alert.
Yeah. I think Jaquan Jackson's days are numbered. Now, listen, I think they're going to give him an opportunity to compete in training camp, see what he's been able to put together over the offseason. But I think when you're looking at the wide receiver depth chart for Tennessee Titans, when you're saying, okay, so here's what we got in free agency, here's what we got in the draft, and here's what we got on the team. Let's put up our starting 5. I think there's 3 people on that starting 5. That's Bryce Oliver, Van Jefferson, and Calvin Ridley. And so they got 2 blanks. So that's where they're going to be looking at the draft for those 2 blanks. And if Jaquan Jackson makes the case to be the 6th man because he's got return ability and he's able to beat out Mason Kinsey, I can never forget Stanley Morgan, who's the Trey guy that caught that pass, Trey Martin, and James Proche. If he can beat out those guys, that's good. But he's going to have to beat out those guys. He's going to be working for that 6th wide receiver spot.
Well, you said he's done, man. I mean, they didn't even dress him. They didn't even dress him.
Yeah.
At the end.
There's like a...
we moved on.
So, before getting here, we do football and afterwards. We cover the entire day 3 of the draft. We watch from round 4, me, Stoney, and a few others. We'll go from round 4 all the way to round 7. We get a little delirious, no commercial breaks or anything. And when they signed Jaquan Jackson, it was a unanimous thumbs down. Drafted Jaquan Jackson's unanimous thumbs down. Because then you saw people try to make excuses this is why they did, because he could be a punt returner and kick returner. So have you guys seen, they showed the one clip where he returns at 90 yards and everybody's like, this is it. We're doing it. We're getting a returner. And then I said, be careful. He muffed his punts a lot. He muffed his kicks a lot.
He had fumble issues in college.
And what did we see when he got here?
Exactly the same. So the film don't lie.
The film don't lie.
Was it at least like a gladiator thing where, you started here, with it sideways and then you went, ugh.
No, it was immediately thumbs down. I don't even think I had to flip it. I think it came into screen thumbs down. I was just totally against it. Of course, I wanted Malik Washington, the receiver out of Virginia.
Yep. He was higher rated and better player.
And I thought he was a better player. Listen, he did more than Jaquan Jackson, but he didn't do a lot. But I'd rather have that guy than Jaquan Jackson.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious. I just knew that's who they were going to take once they got there. And then that guy went like a couple picks later or so, maybe 5 picks later or so. He was right there. I was like, oh.
But you don't go into the draft or free agency with Jaquan Jackson, Stanley Morgan, or Mason Kinsey or any of these guys. No disrespect to them, but you're trying to find the best 5. You know that whoever you may find in the draft is probably going to be one of the best 5 over those guys. So you don't go in with them in your plans. they're not going into the offseason hoping that Traylon Burks turns the corner. You know what I'm saying? They're not going in hoping that Jaquan Jackson. Yeah, that time has passed. What?
He could, though.
He could. But they're not going in with the plan that, hey, Traylon Burks is this guy.
Traylon Burks, didn't he tear his ACL?
He did in a
guy that we
did, right?
Yeah. The guy that we forgot about, Colton Dow.
Wasn't it like a partial tear for Traylon Burks?
Yeah.
Let's quantify partial and tear. You have to have surgery as though it's torn, so it doesn't really matter. He had surgery for an ACL tear.
Yes, but the way they announced it was really weird. If you remember exactly,
it was a partial tear, but you have to, do the same as a partial or a complete tear. It doesn't matter. It's just not like a meniscus.
So this is what Brian Callahan said.
Yeah.
He said it was a loose ACL that wasn't fully torn. And so they had to go see a specialist. So some weeks went by after he went on IR, and he eventually had to have ACL surgery.
Yeah, he volunteered that information, and we didn't even know for like 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, that's right, Jackson.
Because people were asking about Traylon Burks. I'm like, why do y'all? No offense, but why do y'all care?
After NWI is 4 for 4 in games.
Yeah. To me, it's just like at some point we have to understand that if Traylon Burks turns into anything, if Jaquan Jackson turns into anything, that's gravy, but you can't count on it. You don't go in strategizing roster building with those guys included.
No doubt.
I mean, I hate to be callous, but I mean, that's just the state of how the NFL works, right?
Yeah, well, just pro sports in general. It's just as fact of the matter is what it is. And hey, man, no pun intended on you, but hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
That's just how sports is. So in the real world, people can't take that.
No. And it shows. There's a lot of things that over the course of doing this show, I haven't even come up on a year yet, but it's getting close, is that people just don't they want it to be all sunshine and rainbows and all this stuff, and that's not how the NFL world works, and really it's not how the world works in general.
Right, it shouldn't, but
yeah. Well, when we come back, we'll get to your phone, 615-737-1045. We want to hear from you. Who is your guy after, let's say, Cam Ward's off the board? Who is your guy that you want the Titans to draft after they drafted Cam Ward 1.01? Coming up next, we'll get to Gary on the phone and all of your phone calls. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone.
Struggling with joint pain, suffering from a recent injury, looking to recover faster after surgery? Well, at Edge, we've got you covered. From powerful peptide stacks like BPC 157 and TB 500 to PRP treatments, stem cell therapy, and high film muscle stimulation, Edge Peptide is your go-to solution for faster healing and recovery. And as an athlete myself, I know how frustrating pain and injuries can be. That's why now is the perfect time to take control of your wellness and finally address those nagging issues. Whether it's golf, tennis, or any activity you love, don't let pain hold you back any longer. Edge specializes in regenerative treatments designed to reduce inflammation, promote tissue repair, and improve mobility, helping your body heal naturally while avoiding surgery whenever possible. And right now, we're offering a free $250 consultation with your initial treatment. And all you have to do is just go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call today at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
It is 2:01. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In Titans news, the team has reportedly signed wide receiver and return specialist James Proche, according to a post on his Instagram. The 2026 round pick of the Ravens out of SMU has played the last 2 seasons with the Cleveland Browns. In NFL news, the Giants are signing veteran quarterback Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal with the potential to make a total of $21 million in incentives. And the Patriots are signing former All-Pro wide receiver Stephon Diggs to a 3-year, $69 million deal with $26 million of that guaranteed. The 31-year-old wide receiver played for the Houston Texans last season, playing in 8 games before suffering an ACL tear that sidelined him the remainder of the season. For our foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. Tennessee Titans drafted Cam Ward. Who is the guy that you want to pair with Cam Ward no matter what? And it can be a guy on defense, too. So, who do you want the Titans draft no matter what? Let's go to Gary, who wants to talk about injuries. And, Gary, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Injuries?
Hey, guys, I appreciate the call. My main thing is, all this soft tissue stuff that you've been hearing about the last few years. Man, football is football. What happened about when Ronnie Lott ripped his finger off and kept playing and all that? You know what I mean? Football is football. I think they're just trying to take the money and run with this. But, I appreciate it, guys. And like I said, Hitman, but I need more like you. I'll hang up and listen. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. I showed my finger on there, too, where I had 3 pins put in it to save it. I wasn't as tough as Ronnie Lott.
I've never had a soft tissue injury. So, knock on wood, I'll probably do one just walking in my car.
Well, you got to be fast. You got to be fast.
Well, definitely not that, so there you go.
Well, Jackson's fast, though. He said he's quick. That's what she said.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so you probably have played through some soft tissue injuries, or, you've been around people. How painful can those be for you guys?
Well, there's different levels, and certain players at certain positions, it's just hard to play with, especially those skilled guys. I think linemen who are really tough, played through a lot that go unnoticed, whether it's, soft tissue to knee issues or to all kind of things, no cartilage, or, no ACLs. It's kind of amazing. So really the skill guys it's difficult, depending on the severity of those. I didn't have a lot of those. This really never happened till the end of my career, as I got old in the profession. So, I just think you got to be on top of it, man. And especially in this day and age, it's just like every year, all these guys, you just around the league in training camp, people are straining and pulling muscles. And these guys are supposed to be bigger, stronger, faster. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if they're getting enough hydration, just not taking care of themselves outside of their trainers. I have no idea. But I can give you a little secret of what I should do, man. I would, if I feel like any tightness or twinge, like, dang, man, I'm 85%. I don't know. Outside of the Titans organization, I would go get some B12 shots right up in that thing. Bang. And it felt like nothing. And guess what? It would give it time to heal. I could never get up to top end speed, but guess what? I can get to 90, and that was good enough. And then I knew it wasn't going to get worse. Got a doctor named Dr. Tran.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Tran. Not located here. He is in H-Town, so you can go look him up. Got any hamstring issues, soft tissues, go look them up.
The chat wants to know when the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live wants to know when Jackson's funeral is after you just eviscerated him live on the radio.
I did not. He said he had soft tissues. I said he's kind of quick to the trigger.
All right, let's go to Peyton, who wants to talk about the NFL draft. Peyton, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call. I think there's really only one way to go to not have a repeat of our 2024 season.
Ooh.
I think it's Luther Burden or someone of that caliber to add to the receiver room. When you look back at last season, I watched every single game, cried a lot, laughed at a lot of memes. And the biggest noticeable thing to me was very few times were our defense to blame for a loss. The majority of our losses came to no ball security and turning the ball over on offense and just the lack of red zone play. So to me, I think there's really only one way to go about it. I think you pair up Cam Ward with a high-caliber receiver, along with Calvin Ridley, Van Jefferson, whoever else you can throw in the mix there. And I think just rejuvenating the offense is going to be the key to, at least progress, winning another 5 or 6 games. It might not get you all the way there, but I think there's plenty of edge in the draft coming up to where you can pick up a quality edge guy in the 3rd round. Maybe the guy from Marshall or something along those lines.
Now, Peyton, which moment from the Tennessee Titans season made you cry the most?
It has to be. It's probably a tie amongst about 40 situations, and I would say the biggest one for me is the letdown of Will Levis. I had a lot of belief in Will Levis, and it really sucks to see not just a good person, because I believe he's a good guy, but more importantly is that it sucks to see such a high quality of raw talent, but just not having it between the ears enough to become successful in the NFL. I think he has franchise quarterback talent, but I think he's stuck in a college mindset when it comes to what's between the ears. So that was probably the biggest letdown for me.
Hey, I appreciate the honesty, and I'm glad that you felt that this was a safe space for you to tell everybody that you cried about the Titans.
Yeah, man. About to do it again right now. Thanks,
there you go.
Oh,
but yeah, that's why I'm kind of, want the offense to be something that it hasn't been in a while since really the Ryan Tannehill. And I know it sounds like, well, that's just like 5 or 6 years ago. That's a long time in NFL terms. You covered the NFL, or you watched the NFL as much as we both have. That feels like forever ago that this offense was firing on all cylinders. In 2019 and 2020 and just some of 2021 when people were healthy. It was just like, that feels like a decade ago.
Arthur Smith was the OC, right?
He was the OC?
Yes, it was, I think he only averaged 18 points last year, am I right or wrong?
Right at 18 points. It was like 17.89 or 17.9 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was tough. Tough scene out here.
Fun.
It was fun.
More fun than we had.
Yeah.
How was it fun?
More fun than the Titans had.
Yeah, we had more fun than the Titans had.
Oh, man, that was heart-wrenching, man.
So we laughed to hide our tears here on the show. Let's go to Keith, who wants to talk about the draft. Keith, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
18 points. Man.
Hey, guys. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hey, I think the way it's playing out, it looks like, certainly seems like they got to lean towards the quarterback with not much depth on the roster there. So if they take Ward number 1, I look to trade back at the top of the 2nd round, try and get a little value, get some extra picks, and then I go out on a limb and get him his running buddy Restrepo from Miami. Guy's been reliable, productive. Other than A.J. Brown, this franchise has had a history of not drafting receivers well, and I think this guy ends up being a real good one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a guy that we haven't really talked about, and thanks for the call, Keith, is Xavier Restrepo is who he's referring to. And listen, he just had a rough 40 time. I get it. But, at the combine now, NFL data is available where they tell you how fast they ran in the drills. And how it's funny, if you look at a graph, I think No Flags Film on Twitter, James Foster has it, but like all of his percentiles in those drills speed percentiles are really good in the green. And then in the red is his 40 time, which goes back to game speed. His thing has never been long speed. He's never been that long speed kind of wide receiver. He's that guy that gets open, that you can rely on in the red zone, or you can rely on in the middle of the field to always catch the ball and be at the right spot. And to have that extra little bit of added chemistry with Cam Ward does bump him up in my opinion of him a little bit, but I've always been really high on Restrepo. I always thought he'd sneak out into day 3 or day 2. But now I'm a little worried that maybe I'm a little pleasantly surprised that maybe the people will overthink the 40 time and think, well, he's not NFL deep speed fast, so what do we need him for? And maybe his particular skill set allows him to fall for the Tennessee Titans.
What'd you think after the Senior Bowl?
I liked him. Now, he didn't deliver on what I saw on film, to be quite honest with you, and maybe that is the product of guys like Kyle Williams and Tez Johnson that had that deep speed and explosiveness, kind of came off on page, but like as it went, Restrepo started getting open, and then the quarterbacks just couldn't get him the ball. So like he was one of those guys that improved day over day at the Senior Bowl, and the quarterbacks just kind of failed him to some degree to be able to get him the ball, even when he was open in the right spot. But you started seeing what was on tape at the Senior Bowl as he was adjusting throughout the week.
Yeah, towards the end of the week, I would say some of those other guys were a little bit better there from based off what I saw at the Senior Bowl. Now, when you put on the game tape, yeah, he definitely stands out. I'm not real big on just because this is not like interviewing for a job. The guy doesn't have to have connection. You'll get the connection when we draft a player we want you to.
Yeah,
if it so happens that we get a guy that you do.
If he's the franchise quarterback, he's going to have to develop a connection.
Right, no doubt about it. So, and I get what you're saying, but it's just, as you got to kind of block out that, and then so there's guys that haven't run good 40s. Antoine Bolden, who some say should be Hall of Fame type player. He ran a 4.7 too.
Yeah.
So you got to look past all that. I think Coach Mack has talked about it. I think that's when he was there. That didn't show fast on 40, but when you turn on tape, he was running away from people.
Let me ask you this: Cam Ward.
I think he needs to stop lifting weights.
Yeah,
he's not a running back.
Right.
And when I saw him run without his shirt
like a
on,
running back,
and I go, it
was a funny run. He was running like a Isaiah Pacheco.
It's like, exactly. like let's slim out. Let's stop hitting the weights as much or whatever you're doing to take yourself to get bigger. And I get it. A lot of college guys, me included, when I was coming out, I thought about, oh man, I got to get bigger, and I got so big. I got that first camp. I was like, nope, that's it. After first mini camp OTAs, I will it back and said, now I'm doing track workout. Not as much heavy lifting as I need to be. I need to be pliable, more flexible. I need to be able to change directions quicker than I wanted to. I was quick, but I needed to be long in speed. I couldn't be stiff up top, all of that. That's what it does, depending on your position. So I think that's what's happened to him. And I think he'll figure it out because he'll be, somewhat embarrassed about what he ran in the 40. It was 4.72, 4.73. Yeah, so
supposedly he tweaked his hammy just before the 40, but he still ran it twice.
Yeah, that's all information we hear after the fact.
Yeah,
if you tweak your hamstring,
why would you even run?
Right. So I'm not buying that one. But the film tells you who he is, so you just got to rely on that and believe in that. And I still think there's a couple other guys ahead of him, even in that mid-round tier, that are a little bit better. But if you got him, I would be happy with him as well.
So when we come back, I got one more question to ask you about Xavier Restrepo. We'll get to your phone calls as well. We got Eek on the phone line here, 615-737-1045. You want to get on the conversation. But I also want to talk about, do we think the Tennessee Titans are still trending towards being a dysfunctional franchise? This is cover 2 with Blaine and Zach here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all 4 Season Garage Stores, 615-737-1045. And we're going straight to the phones. We're going to go to Eki, who wants to talk about the draft. Eki, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
What's up, Zach? Hitman, how we feeling?
What's going on, CJ?
I'm just living the dream. So I got 2 things that I want to say, but both of them sort of correlate to where we are in this conversation about Cam Ward. First, I really, really like some of these midday receivers. I have been bullish on Trey Harris for a long time as sort of your big-bodied, physical, down-the-field type receiver.
That's the Ole Miss guy.
I like Jalen Noel from Iowa State. I also like Jaden Higgins, but just on that front. But I want to go back to something that I had a conversation with one of our newer guys downstairs on Mondays, and it really crystallized to me, and it brought me back to a conversation that I saw on ESPN back in 2014 when Merrill Hodge was talking about Johnny Manziel. And he mentioned something that I think really set the table for where we are today, that drafting Johnny Manziel high at that time would get that GM, whoever made that decision, would get that general manager fired. I believe that a similar thing happened with Rand Carthon here in Tennessee. I think that Will Levis's poor play is the reason that Rand Carthon got fired, and ultimately why we're in the situation that we are in. So I don't think we need to be afraid of the idea of potentially drafting Cam Ward, as I think all signs point to it. But I don't think that we need to be afraid of that. Ultimately, we're here because of Will Levis, and we have to find a way to rectify that mistake. So, just my thoughts.
That's actually a good transition. Thanks for the call, Eki. Good transition to what I kind of want to talk about, because we haven't really talked much. We mentioned it when it happened on our show about the firing of longtime football communications vice president of football communications, Robbie Bourne. And there's been a few moves over the last few seasons of them firing long-standing employees. I mean, they fired an equipment manager that had been there for 40 years, and a couple other people that I cannot, for the life of me, it went blank. So I've seen a lot of people talk about this, and I don't have some massive long history of working with Robbie Bourne. You've worked with Robbie Bourne way longer than probably even most people, because you've actually,
as a player,
as a player too, player media. You've seen it from both sides.
Quality human being.
And so I kind of wanted to get your perspective on it when you see, obviously, so football communications falls under Chad Brinker's purview. Now, supposedly, he didn't really have the power he has now last year, but when they announced that he was president of football operations, communications fell under Chad Brinker's purview, according to their press release. I don't really know if that's how the power structure works, but according to the press release,
I have no idea.
The communication from inside the building was that. So when you see a firing like this, with your history of working with them as a player in the media, when you see someone that's been there since their transition over from the Oilers, from Texas to over here, is this just a sign of that this is a new regime wanting their guy kind of situation? Is that how you view it, just how the NFL works, and all this kind of stuff? Or do you think that there's something more to this that maybe leads to us back to the conversation of the Tennessee Titans being a dysfunctional franchise?
Oh, I think it's just more corporate, and this is how it works. I don't buy into that. I think it's more so when you hire new people up top, it's just like any other corporate job is, that now you want to bring in people that you are trusted into, that you trust. And so eventually it gets down to all the positions. So, I think it's just that. It wasn't that he wasn't good at his job. You can't be somewhere for 28 seasons and then be let go, or however it went down. So, that's how I view it at everything. That's at any corporate job, and everybody understands, in the corporate world, that's kind of how it works. So I wasn't surprised at all. I just he survived a lot of different head coaches, and now that they've made changes over the last few years, handful of years up top, eventually, is going to get you. So, hey, however they want to do it, but they want to bring in their guys.
Well, on the terms of this being a dysfunctional organization, this being possibly evidence of that, you obviously don't agree with that. I don't really agree either, because this, again, it's kind of like when a new general manager comes in, he wants his scouts. He wants people that he feels comfortable with, that understands his language, and this seems to be that kind of move, because they were trying, whether it was kind of like a fake handout or not, they were trying to find another spot for him in this special projects division, right? I mean, like, listen, that could just be some form of job offer that doesn't mean crap, and he read right through them. But at the end of the day, it wasn't because they didn't value who he was and the work that he put in. It really seems to me to be how kind of businesses work, not just in the NFL, but across the world. And it's unfortunate. But this being a dysfunctional franchise has been a topic of conversation. Do you view this as a dysfunctional franchise, or do you view this as a franchise experiencing a hiccup but looking to get back on the right track?
But what do you do? This is your time. You think they're dysfunctional?
I don't. I mean,
okay. I don't either. So
I think they are dysfunctional at times, like every other NFL team across the league. But
that's why I go there.
I don't put them as in like the Browns are a dysfunctional franchise. The Jets are a dysfunctional franchise. I mean, when you got teenagers using Madden to make free agent choices, you're a dysfunctional franchise. And now there's different levels of dysfunctional, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at at Jackson. I mean, he's pretty dysfunctional, but he's not as dysfunctional as Joseph. So, that was a crazy thought he was going to go the other way, didn't I? You thought I was going to call you more dysfunctional than Joseph. But I'm gonna defend you too right here.
Yeah, I think the NFL is set up for kind of what you're talking about here. I don't view it as dysfunction. I think there's a lot of pressure, and when things aren't getting done or you can't win, I think they make changes just like anything in the world, really, at the same time. So, large companies have turnover to smaller companies having turnover when you're not having success. So I kind of view it more so that I just think people say dysfunction maybe because it was back-to-back. Somewhat in 2 years you're changing GMs and now you got to get a whole new, upper management, and Brinker comes in, all of a sudden he was below him and then he moves him up. So I don't think that's dysfunction. I call it the nuances of the corporate world.
Wouldn't you think that's maybe more of and I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I know people are going to hate this, call me crazy, or say that I'm carrying water for the team. But I look at this from a business perspective, not a fan perspective. So I'm looking at everything I'm saying is from a business perspective.
Right.
You made a hire. That hire didn't work out. You got rid of the hire.
Right.
That's functional. Now,
that is functional. That's why I said
that's not dysfunctional.
No, that is not.
Now, you could say that maybe some of the processes needed to be tweaked, and that's okay. You should be able to to learn from your mistakes, but they obviously made a mistake, and they've obviously tried to course correct.
They cut bait and then decided that we're going in a different direction, which I applaud all the way around.
Look how long the Jaguars kept Trent Baalke. Right? And look how that kind of cost them in their coaching search. That's dysfunctional. Right. They cut bait with Rand Carthon because they viewed that Rand Carthon wasn't doing the job to their standard. Now, we're not there behind the scenes, right? So, everything is speculative, but you look at the record, you look at the money spent and how many of those players have been cut, that kind of tells you they did not agree with the free agency plan that was put into place last year, and that is why you see Rand Carthon out on the street. We were talking about Jaquan Jackson, right? From what I understand, that is a him pick. So if that's the case, we're just trashing, the production of Jaquan Jackson and how bad of a draft pick that was at the time, that falls on the Rand Carthon. So wouldn't you rather them cut bait? Maybe you were saying that you wish they never fired John Robinson, but John Robinson was trending way worse towards the end of his career, and I'd rather them cut bait with him too. So I kind of look at it as a different way, is that I would rather have a franchise that can admit its mistakes and try to move on quickly. It may look like a circus, but it doesn't really seem like it is.
Right. That's completely what I agree with all of that. That's just like the corporate business. But, some people want to call it dysfunction. I do not. I completely firmly, disagree with people who say that. I'm like, hey, when you make a mistake in a hire, Don't you want to cut bait and say, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm going to now make the right decision and then cut bait and make the right hire.
Well,
That's what happens.
think about the Browns and Deshaun Watson. They obviously made a mistake, and they keep making it worse, a worse mistake. Instead of trying to just leave his contract alone and cut bait with him as soon as possible, they've now kept him longer than they originally could have if they wouldn't have restructured and
I would
pushed
tell
money.
him not even be around the facility.
Right.
I mean, that was a bad decision. I just think it is negative karma all up in the locker room, training room. Look, you can rehab somewhere else. We made a mistake. Stay away. They just got to keep cutting those checks. Oh, well, that's just the way it is.
Right. And so, again, you're talking about different points of view. A lot of people are like, well, Brinker has been there. We have someone in the chat that says Brinker's been there the entire time. I fully agree.
Not in this role, but yes, he has.
Yeah, I fully agree. He's been behind the scenes, but maybe what he has seen gone wrong behind the scenes is the reason he's in the position that he is today, because he's offered solutions.
Mm-hmm.
With the Tennessee Titans, the most dysfunctional franchise, or one of them, what is being called a dysfunctional franchise on the radio, on podcasts, on Twitter, on Facebook, no matter where you're looking, you hear that word dysfunction kind of tied with them during the GM search, and they landed the number one candidate. How do you land the number one candidate, GM, if you're a dysfunctional franchise, especially when that GM has turned down interviews in the past for other franchises? So it's hard for me to say. And listen, I said a lot of bad about Chad Brinker, and a lot of that had to do with the messaging surrounding the firing of Rand Carthon. You can fire a person, you don't have to fire his reputation into the sun at the same time.
There was red flags all over the place. Once he got elevated above Rand Carthon, you knew something was going on. That's why I kept asking you that question. Like, what is this title? How come we don't know publicly, like there was a release that he is now actually Rand Carthon's boss?
Right.
That's what happened, even though Rand Carthon hired him.
And I know that he says, I didn't have a lot of power during that year. We don't know, but I mean, I find it very hard to believe with the title of president of football operations, you didn't have some power or some say. But at the end of the day, again, it's not about really whether you think that Chad Brinker, if you're one of those people that thinks Chad Brinker is a snake, or you think Burke Nihill is the puppet master or anything like that. It does do these current decisions really mean that they're dysfunctional, or does it really mean that, hey, we made a bad mistake, we got to course correct because we're trying to get us on the right winning path? Because that's what it feels like to me, is a team kind of scrambling to put together a team quickly to erase maybe some of the mistakes they've had, because you don't get rid of almost all the players that they signed last year if you didn't have some form of buyer's remorse. And maybe they have hirer's remorse with, Rand Carthon. And maybe they have firer's remorse with Mike Vrabel. But I think at the same time, they're trying to put together the foundation of a building franchise to get them back on the right track to actually sustain. Again, you may disagree that those were the right choices, but at least they're trying to correct them. Yeah. And to me, I'd rather have a team that corrects them instead of just keep making the same mistakes over and over.
Well, you've heard me say that I've agreed with a lot of things that they've done, even though they even overpaid Moore Jr. I know you've kind of have some issues there, but at the same time, what are your other options? And so then when you're stuck in a corner, once they get out on the market, you have to pay what the market dictates. And that's what they did, because even if they just get average play, guess what? That's better than what they were getting. And then they feel like they killed two birds with one stone by then moving Latham to right tackle. So I think they've done a heck of a job. No big name splashes and all that, but guess what? They got some quality freaking football players. You go watch them on tape. There's nothing I can say negative about any one of the guys really that stands out to say these guys are not worthy of what they've gotten. So, even more, you say he's super athletic. He showed in his last year that he could be somewhat consistent, and all the sacks weren't on him. I would say a handful of them were on the quarterbacks, whether it was Russell Wilson or Fields. So we can kind of take that number down if you really dig into the tape and just don't look at the surface numbers. So when you start saying that, and the Steelers already had drafted a first rounder the year before. For that position. So they were already planning on that they were going to let the guy walk, even though he kept starting. Maybe he played average at best with them. But at the same time, what the Titans needed, they got. And they need average at this point in time. And hopefully he's still on the rocket going up that ship and getting better every year.
I mean, when you bring in a guy like Mike Bergonzi, right, you're bringing in a new general manager. you're going through, as a general manager, you're going through, again, I'm looking at this from a business perspective.
That's the only way you should be doing it.
If you're looking at this from a track record perspective or something like that, that's not really how you got to be going about it. You got to be looking at it like a business. And you're going through the ledger, because that's what he's doing. He's going through the ledger. These players, employees, choices that he makes, they're all the ledger. And him and Brinker are sitting down, likely involving, Amy Armstrong along the way, or informing her of the decision, because apparently he's got full control of the football operations, Chad Brinker. That's what kind of Amy Armstrong has said. And Borgonzi's going through and he's saying, okay, we got all these players, and these players did this for you last year, and we're paying them this year. We got to get rid of them. And here's the players I want to bring back from last year that were signed, to good contracts. And here's our price point, and here's all this. And we got to change this. We got to change that. That's what you want a business to do. You don't want a team to just run it back with Rand Carthon year over year over year because you're afraid that, if we switch GMs, if we fire a GM, we're going to look like we're dysfunctional. Well, no. This just, what I've learned over this course of being on the radio is that people just don't know how to run a business. Because that's really where this is all leading to, is that this is how good businesses are run. They get rid of low-performing employees, and I'm not talking about any of the people behind the scenes. I'm talking about the players and the GM. They get rid of those guys and try to course correct as quickly as possible. Now, if you're rotating GMs every year, or rotating head coaches every year, then yes, you got a different problem on your hands. But they're trying to find the right combination. And I don't think they have done enough in a short time space to be declared dysfunction. They're functional.
Well, I think what you can say is they've realized that we are in the mode of rebuilding, and they've said it. Pretty much in everything we've built from the ground up. So that's where it all starts, right there in the messaging about what we are doing and plan of attack. And I think they're going to have the window here to see what they can build.
Right.
And it's going to start with the first pick, right?
And sometimes you hold on to someone too long, right? I mean, you can almost say that sometimes too much stability is dysfunction.
Right.
Because I think I don't know if that's what TK is bringing up in the chat, but he says the Colts and Ballard. Yeah. I mean, Chris Ballard has kept his job way longer than he should and has not yielded the results. And to me, that's just as opposite. I mean, that could be viewed as dysfunctional more than anything, too, because you're never getting nowhere, and you're not getting nowhere with the same guy, but you're keeping him employed for whatever reason.
How do you view the New England Patriots and what they did after 1 year with Mayo?
I mean, I don't like it. I think the whole thing is a little sketchy. I'm not ready to call them dysfunctional, but I do think that when you look at how they handled Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, the power that Bill Belichick was able to amass, how they let him, put Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator and, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's hard to say that maybe they made the wrong moves. And I'm not necessarily sure that Vrabel corrects them. I think that if you're looking at an offseason that's being vastly overrated, it's going to be the Patriots offseason. And if they opened up, the Patriots opened up at 7.5 win total, over-under win total on ESPN Bet, take the under. Because you're talking about the team that's so far spent the most cash, the most total contracts, and they are being declared offseason winners. Yeah, I've heard that one before. The Browns and Jaguars for like 3 years in a row were exchanging winners of the offseason. This is the year the Jaguars and the Browns break through, and it never happens. Take the under on that one.
Yes, that's kind of how I view it. I feel like a lot was true about what was going on with Vrabel, and he tried to let that pass 1 year, and then when he had an opportunity to seize, Vrabel's available. Now I'm going to go get him. Now you can't say I remember when the first year that he was done.
Yeah.
So now NFL check mark. You can't say that.
I know.
And again, then eventually got his guy.
He eventually got his guy, and it all seems a little too fishy and convenient for me. And I think that's unfair to someone that, I mean, let's be men. We know you can break a contract. I'm sure there was an out in that contract. Doesn't matter what you promise him in the NFL. How many people in the NFL backed out promises all the time? So this was just sketchy as crap, in my opinion. And the whole process and everything. If you wanted to hire Vrabel, they could have hired Vrabel last year. But they went through this whole charade of all this kind of crap, and then they tarnished his reputation out the door, similar to how Rand Carthon's reputation felt like it got tarnished. All these stories came out. Just fire the guy and move on. Why do you have to come out with all these stories to justify when the track record would speak for itself, right? Jared Mayo's fired.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, he had a losing record. What a surprise that you fired someone with a losing record. What a surprise that you fired Rand Carthon, who is general manager with 2 losing records. You don't have to go further than that. But they always feel the need to overshare. It's just insane. When we come back, we're going to talk about what one WWE wrestler had to say about Cam Ward, and maybe I'll challenge him to a match. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045. You want to get in on the conversation.
First of all, I want to commend Ramon this morning and his single vocals, his singing. Do you have that? I want everybody to give him a round of applause because this took a lot of cojones to do this. I gotta give him props on that.
Give me 1 second, and I will get it for you.
Oh wait. Oh, okay. I didn't know how quick to trigger you. I don't know if you can find it, but yeah, he was singing praise that Cam is the guy and he's the man now, and which I think a lot of people believe in, including myself, that he's going to be the guy. But how much, we don't know. So we shall see.
So here's the Ramon clip.
Is this it? I don't think this is the clip. This is not him singing. Uh-huh. Okay. There you go, man. Yeah, that took some cojones there because I have no vocals and I don't know if I would ever do that. But man, that was what's up, man.
Okay, so we got producer Joseph behind the glass. He was able to find that clip very quick, but he's not able to find the clip of what I wanted to play that was from Seth Rollins of
the
that was on
right?
Good. He's a wrestler. I'm a wrestling fan. So.
Is it on?
I mean, I'm going to try to send it to him on Twitter. But, I mean, did you grow up a wrestling fan while I'm trying to
Oh, absolutely. I grew up a
vamp here?
wrestling fan. I haven't watched a lot of wrestling here over the last, handful of years. But, yeah, I was a wrestling fan growing up. That kind of changed as I had a kid there. And then we were afraid that he would start body slamming people at the daycare. So that we kind of slowed down on that. At least the wife convinced me to slow down on that a little bit. So not as much wrestling because me and him could wrestle, dude. But then when you start doing it on other kids, that wasn't going to work like that.
All right, so Seth Rollins, for those who don't know, he's a two-time WWE Championship, one-time World Heavyweight Championship, two-time WWE Universal Championship. And he's also a Bears fan, diehard Bears fan. Oh. But here's what he had to say that led me to believe that maybe he's taken too many chair shots to the head about Cam Ward.
I am not sold, guys. I'm not sold.
Okay, good. I like it.
Look, I understand what you're saying. I get it. It's going into my ears. It's going into my brain. But what I'm reading when I see Cam Ward, it just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't. He's going to go number one. I'm actually more certain, I think, than you guys are that he's going to go number one. I don't. It's a month away from the draft, but I don't see much happening between now and then that's going to change anybody's opinion. Crazier things have happened. Right. But look, I've been a guy who's trained in a warehouse. I've trained wrestling students in a warehouse. That setting is not conducive to understanding how it's going to translate when you get out there on game day. That's my opinion. And I've seen his tape, and it's good. It's good. It's not great. If I'm a Titans fan, which I'm not, I have some friends who are, they're not terribly excited about Cam Ward at number one. They're saying, this is the position we're in, and we're going to take a quarterback because we need a new quarterback. Again, they're not really feeling Will Levis. I felt him as a Bears fan in week one when he threw that pick to seal the game, that pick six. But I feel like we have to take a quarterback, and he might be the best available. And Deion doesn't want his kid coming to Nashville.
Yep.
That's kind of how I feel. So I hope Cam Ward proves me wrong. I hope that he hears what I'm saying or what naysayers are saying, and he goes, I'm going to stick it in your face, man. You don't know nothing about football. You're right. I don't. This is my gut feeling. They're going to take him number one, I think. Yeah. And I hope that he has an incredible Hall of Fame career. But if I'm the Titans, I'm
You don't do it?
I'm doing this. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm going,
Do you think that's what they're doing on the plane on the way back to Nashville?
I hope.
Just looking at each other?
I don't know. I want the sexiness, man.
Sure.
I want it. I want the pizzazz. I want the neon lights. I want the volcanoes exploding all over the place. I want that. And if I don't have that, it's going to give me some reserve. I'm gonna pump the brakes. I'm gonna look. Are there better options? There are going to be long-term options for my franchise. I don't know.
Let me just say, first off, he throws in the Deion doesn't want Shedeur to come to Nashville, which is idiotic because there's no basis for that. None whatsoever. In fact, he's said the complete opposite. So, and then he also says in the middle of that whole entire rant that, and you're right, I don't know anything about football. And guess what? You don't, Seth, because if you watch the tape, you would see that he has great college tape. Now, whether you want to say that translates to the NFL or not, by all means, be that guy. But at this point in time, a Bears fan trying to say what looks good on quarterback tape is pretty hilarious to me because they have been terrible at quarterback all the way up to lucking into Caleb Williams, who may not even be that good himself. So give me a break. This guy's taken way too many chair shots to the head, been thrown through way too many tables. And I'll say this, WrestleMania is coming up, and I know he's in a three-way feud with CM Punk and Roman Reigns, but you throw me in there, let's make it a tag match, me and CM Punk versus Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I think me and CM Punk can win this because like he said, he is working with children, and that seems like a take from a child.
Well, first of all, he lost me when he said, he not even paying it. Nah, he doesn't even know anything about football. He doesn't know football. So, this guy's just giving his opinion. So I don't even know if he was worthy of having our airways here. And so,
if Drew and see, we have a couple of wrestlers that live in Nashville. He's right. Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, both of WWE, Rusev as well. I'm encourage them, if they are hearing this, to call in tomorrow, 615-737-1045, and let us know if you agree with Seth. Because I want to know, because you guys are the fans that the WWE fans and Titans, or WWE wrestlers and Titans fans that he's referencing. I want to know. So call in 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. 3HL's up next. And in the meantime,
in between time.
Peace.